Hey there, guys. What's up? I'm glad you tuned in once again. And today, what we're going to talk about right now, is uh, the unfortunate loss that comes with the passing of Breonna Taylor at the hands of the police. Now, as the police booted in Breonna Taylor's door, they were in plain clothes. This is according to ABC's Deborah Roberts. She reports, in March, three plainclothes officers stormed Breonna's apartment. Her boyfriend, a licensed gun owner, fired a shot. So her boyfriend, after three dudes in regular clothes booted open her door, he fired a shot because that's what guns are for, right? We live in a country where guns are legal, right? Like in many first world countries, you can't just go buy a gun, because they're used to kill people. So, like, to have less people killing people, let's make guns illegal. That kind of makes sense, right? I don't know. But anyway, so they boot his door in regular clothes. He's a licensed gun owner in his girlfriend's house, and people boot the door in, and he shoots an officer, right? And so then they open fire, and they're very competent, right? The police, you gotta have a high school diploma, right? And go to less school than it takes to become a hairdresser to become a cop, right? So they boot in the door to the building. Her boyfriend shoots them, and so then they shoot Breonna Taylor 8 times and miss her boyfriend. All right, so there's experts on the case, right? Nothing wrong with policing. Obviously, this is stupid, right? Now, I think first of all, the reason why they booted in her door is because someone suspected of being involved in drug trafficking, had been seen at her residence, although this is a young woman who was an EMT aspiring to be a nurse. And if a person who happened to, on their own time, be involved in illegal activities, they decide they're going to boot her door in, right? So I think it would have made much more sense to just approach Miss Taylor, who is a law-abiding citizen, and say, hey, we have noticed this person here. Do you know this person? Are you aware of any sort of things like that? You know what I'm saying? But no. They just get a no-knock warrant, which means they can boot the door in plain clothes. Now, I think this should be considered a form of entrapment, right? Because they charged this gentleman with attempt at murdering a police officer. I mean, entrapment is a concept where, like, okay, I'm not a lawyer or whatever, but I would believe it's wrong for the police to, like, walk up to you and be like, hey, you want to buy some drugs? And then you buy them, and they're like, haha, you bought drugs. You know what I'm saying? So, like, in the same way, the police should not be able to, like, boot your door in plain clothes, and then you shoot them because you couldn't tell they were the police. And they didn't say they were the police. And then all of a sudden, oh, you just tried to assassinate a police officer. You're going to jail for the rest of your life. Are you serious? Like, you set this man up. You booted in his girlfriend's door in plain clothes. Like, you weren't even dressed like cops. And he fired a shot. And then you murdered his girlfriend. And they're like, okay, well, you're under arrest, sir. You shot Dan in the leg. And he's like, but you murdered my whole girlfriend. And they're like, well, you shot Steve in the leg, dude. You shot Steve in the leg, dog. I'm sorry, dude. And so they're here to catch a dude for selling drugs, right? They tore that apartment to the ground, found nothing. And the only reason why this young man is under arrest is because he was trying to defend his girlfriend's life, who was in risk because they ended up murdering her. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, they didn't even solve the case. You know what I'm saying? They're here to bust somebody on selling drugs. You know what I'm saying? And all they could get him on was shooting a police officer who broke the door down. Now, we need to reduce the police presence and their scope of responsibility. They should not be so heavily involved in drug-related cases. And I think, honestly, it's ridiculous that they did not even suspect Miss Taylor of selling drugs, but they had a no-knock warrant to boot her door in. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. So the police need to be reined in. They need to be held accountable. But there's no reason you should just be like, oh, we're just going to boot in her door because we saw a guy there. Ridiculous. Like, what happened to, we have the place surrounded, step out? Like, if it's that serious, you know what I'm saying? Like, just surround the place so that a dude can't just run away and hop the fence, right? Surround the place and tell him to come out. And if it becomes more than that, then you storm the building. You know what I'm saying? But step one, storm the building in plain clothes, and then anyone who shoots us is going to jail. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And so Breonna Taylor's story is really a tragedy, not only, especially for Breonna Taylor. Obviously, she was a brilliant young woman and a treasure to her community, but also, to the gentleman that was her boyfriend and whose very future hangs in the balance because of the wicked police officers that decided that they were going to boot her door. And now, lastly, people say not all cops are bad, but the movement to reform police is not spearheaded by police. So I'm going to point out that, like, the people who murdered Breonna Taylor, they haven't been like, oh, we need to reconsider how we do no-knock warrants. No, they murdered Breonna Taylor, accused her boyfriend of attempt at murder, and kept it moving. They got relocated, but they're getting paid, and they're not tripping, and nobody in their department is like, hey, let me be at the forefront of changing the policy so that we don't just boot in a random door and then murder a woman, for no reason. Like, why don't we change that policy? This is a stupid policy. There's no police officer from her department saying that. Silence expresses a lot. Like in Buffalo, New York, an elderly protester was slammed to the ground and bleeding from the ear, which you could see on video. The police officers were reprimanded, and then over 30 officers from their department quit in solidarity because they believe, hey, look, if he can't just throw a 75-year-old man on the floor and crack his skull when he wasn't doing anything, I don't know if I want to be a cop. That's ridiculous. I'm glad you quit, right? At the same time, though, I'm just saying, like, you have many, many cops who are just like, look, if we can't do whatever we want at the expense of anyone, and I know, oh, Franzo, you're exaggerating. No cop ever said that, but your actions speak louder than words. Like, if you're willing to quit being a cop because people are being held accountable for slamming a 75-year-old's head into the ground, should you even be a cop? You know what I'm saying? Or if you can boot in the door, you swore to protect and serve, you booted in her door in plain clothes, and a shot was fired because you look like robbers, and then you murdered a woman. And you say you're here to protect and serve, but you don't have a problem with that, and you're not about to, like, be an advocate for the solution to the problem. So on the issue of are all cops bad or are all cops good, I'm going to say any cop that is silent is bad and complicit. It's almost like if I say, hey man, what's up? I'm going to go rob a bank. I'm going to go rob this specific bank on Tuesday. And then I'm going to hit a kid in the head with a bat or, like, do something crazy. If I tell you I'm going to do this, and you are just like, all right, and you don't do anything to stop me, you are a bad person. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are a bad person. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if these men murdered Breonna Taylor after they booted her door in, and you don't even say, hey, maybe we should do stuff differently, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you're in that department, you're kind of a bad person. You're kind of a bad person. Like, if imagine at your job, any job that you work at, a dude killed a person, and they just got, like, relocated. Wouldn't you be like, yo, this is weird. We should probably change this, right? Just think about it. If at your job, a dude that works there killed somebody, and over stupid reasons that are obviously stupid, under stupid circumstances, wouldn't you be a bad person if you didn't say, hey, look, we should change this? You know what I'm saying? Or if you gotta at least be like, look, this is stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like, but we don't see that. And so there's the problem in police is not only that we have to reduce their scope of responsibility, but we also have to, stop pretending that there's nothing wrong. That's very important. We have to stop pretending that there's not a system that allows this to occur and to reoccur.